We're trying.
All right.
We're
All right.
trying.
Gotta
Um,
create content somehow, bro. Video's a new wave.
Yep, absolutely. I
People
agree.
want it. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And we are back on the big three roll up. We have a friend of the show and a special guest with us right now. We have Clarence Greenwood of Citizen Cope. You guys know him. Famously does the intro music for our show. So, Clarence, welcome back. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. It's a trying time spiritually, but it's it's one of those things where, every it's great because people are learning right now and people being exposed to things, and people are also getting their voices out that have been held back from time in some ways. So there's a lot. We don't know what's going to happen, but there's, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm. We're here in Florida. We've been active, doing our part, spreading the word, whatever we can. You're in LA?
I'm in LA right now. Yeah.
What's your perspective of what's the vibes?
Well, I mean, I think you have three different factions of what's going on. I think, you have obviously the protests, which is one faction of it, and then there's the arson faction, which I feel is probably a third party with their own, you know, I, their own their own what they want, and then there's the faction of the looting part, which is all everyone has that's doing that has their own um, purpose in that. So I think that there's kind of three different things going on right now. But I think the whole fact of people raising their voice is one thing, and then because people are raising their voice now, it gives other people opportunity with their own intentions to
Mm-hmm.
to kind of push forward their whatever they're thinking about, which isn't really about what this with police killing people is about.
We're at an interesting point in our country. You and I have had to talk a lot about the power of the dollar and the power of the people using the dollar, and protesting and all this stuff. And it's kind of like the things that you've been talking to me about in the past. Do you see this as a chance for real change? Do you think we're going to keep pushing, or is this going to be another typical American uprising and all of a sudden we forget about it? Do you feel this is different?
Well, when when I saw the video of George Floyd, I felt like there's something kind of told me, even though this has been happening for centuries, that this might be a little different. Not the actual crime that was committed to him, but the reaction that was going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. Something made me feel it was different. I think there's the faction that there's so many people that are going to jump on this for kind of their to look good socially or politically in their circles. But in the end, I think my question is this. I have more questions than answers about this, which is what power does the government actually have to make the type of changes that are necessary to actually impact and change what's going on with how people police. And I think it's going to take the people that have been studying this and known it, the activists that have been around since the days of the civil rights movement and the Black Panther movement, and the people that are actually in, you know, more socially conscious people that have kind of understand what laws need to be changed and if that's possible to do that. That's another question. It's not about, you know, we saw the federal government come up and give, $3 trillion right away, when this coronavirus came out, to major businesses, major corporations, and called it small business PPL loans or PP whatever they were. So I think, do we have that? I don't know the answer. Do we have that do we have that power to go in and actually say, all right, somebody made a good comment the other day on the news. Are you allowed to use force on a misdemeanor anymore? Can that law be changed without it going through the Senate and the House? Because this is going to take, and it's also going to take leadership that wants to do that. But I think right now the leverage is so on the protester side that as long as people still go out and protest, and the firing and the fires and all that, figure out who's setting those, because I don't think it's the protesters that set that fire. I think that was those fires. I think it was other people. I mean, I think randomly maybe some fires would have started, but I don't think, you know,
No, we don't go to Boy Scouts like that. I'm gonna be honest with you, Clarence. Like, we don't know how to set fires like that, bro. This is a barbecue grill or some shit. Like, you seen some charcoals down there, some lighter fluid. It may have been us, but that ain't the type of fires I thought we seen.
No, I don't think, you know, and I don't think that it's a situation where somebody has the wherewithal to set fire to a police station. I mean, I love the visual of that because it's never been done. I just think that the fact that it was more
organized. It's organized.
Yeah, this is people, you know, the government's been doing this type of thing in other countries and to our own civil rights movement for years. They've infiltrated people that have been pushing their own thing, you know, and so this is nothing new. If anyone knows the real history of a lot of the overtakings, a lot of these countries, and within our own country, to try to push their movement, in conjunction with other people's suffering. So I think that this, you know, once they figure that out and kind of understand that, you know, you can't look at something like a looting situation and be like, whoa, why are people looting? I mean, it's like, you know, I think part of the whole thing is too, there's a lot of people that don't understand what's going on as far as why people are protesting, because they don't have the intellectual capacity to understand it, because it's beyond reason that this is, you know, everybody with any kind of sense of reason understands what's going on.
Well, they didn't understand it when Kaepernick was doing it either.
Right.
I mean,
but
I mean, from our perspective, I think everybody on this show kind of like, I think we share like a similar perspective with that type of with those type of views or whatnot. But like like there's been a lot of flack and a lot of kickback all these years, man, about this issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get like how people didn't understand what we were saying. Like, who? Like, it's obvious. It's videos. It's film. We're dying. I mean, what else did you need? We were dying on camera, on video, and people weren't getting charged. So, and it was about to happen again. You know, so like, I don't know, man. But I feel like you feel, Clarence. I felt it was a different vibe from the get-go. I done seen a lot of these brothers die. I done seen a lot of protests. But when this one kicked off, like something kicked, you know what I'm saying, kicked in different with me as well. And I think all of us, like the energy and the vibes was just different with this one. So I agree with that.
Completely different. And I think one of the things we have to look at is that, you know, we've all kind of been probably in our inner circle, knowing what's been going on for years and wondering why people, like, even as a child growing up in kind of a small town in Texas and through Washington, D.C., where I was primarily raised, where, you know, in Texas, it was outright racism and bigotry, where people spoke of it. In Washington, D.C., that wasn't spoken about in public, but the policies were that. So that you know, it was a different type. So the fact is that the people that, just because they don't run around saying the N-word doesn't mean what their policies, you know, what their policies have been doing. And
some people are systematic racists and don't know it.
Right.
You know?
And so the system is showing that that people don't want. There's something, I'm not. My theory is like there's something. You know how they say the mind is only using 50 or 65% of your brain power. Maybe there's some people that only get access to about 55% or something, because there's like,
You went high. You still went kind of high.
no, I stopped smoking. I'm smoking a cigarette, unfortunately.
No, you went 55. Some people ain't using like.
No, he wasn't saying you were high. He said the number was high.
And wait,
The
we got to
number
talk
was
about this,
high.
Clarence.
5% of
Why'd
their
you
brain.
stop smoking?
That's a whole different story. I have an
I don't even want to hear that
allergic
story. It sounds like a sad one.
Yeah, I mean, I have an allergic reaction. I'll puff a little bit
Oh
every once.
shit!
Yeah.
Damn, I hope I don't get no shit like that, Clarence.
Well,
You
if you
just
smoke,
acquired that?
I might start taking the drugs Berg take.
I acquired it over probably years of smoking. So, but it's actually it's a whatever that percentage is that they're not understanding the reason, and the problem is, and the thing is that I'm kind of sick of trying to convince people of stuff like that, because it's not even
Yeah.
necessary. So it's
Right.
like
That's where I'm at with it.
you can't convince somebody that doesn't know. But the power of the people that actually are in the know and understand what's going on, if that crew is uniting as strongly as the people that oppose this, then there's room for change. But I think the overall kind of infrastructure of the high elite doesn't want that to happen. So you have, and I'm not saying just because somebody's rich that they think this. I think, there's people that are actually trying to control the way the government moves to control the people. So I think that group or that entity has not understood. I mean, I think they think that, the suffering of people, and it perpetuates unrest, and it perpetuates division. And if we do actually figure out how to disagree but agree that certain things have to change, then we're a powerful unit.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we heard some comments from Anquan Bolden. Berg said earlier, like, if you were to show a 7 or 9-year-old the video of Mr. Floyd or any of these other police brutality, every one of those 7 and 9-year-olds would say the guy who did this needs to go to jail. The guy who did this needs to get arrested, spend some time in jail. So the people you're talking about that don't know or don't have the brain capacity, they don't want to know. So I think it's important that the youth, and that's why it's so encouraging to see 16-year-old white kids out of these protests, younger generation. I think that's where our hope is, because these older people, they just don't want to know.
And they're tired, but also the older people are tired, man. And it's good to see. I'm happy to see these kids out there day after day. I think we need that energy, and I'll do anything to support them.
Anything?
Well,
I'll do a lot to support them.
It sounds lusty a little bit when you said that. Hey, Clarence, what's your thoughts on the way a lot of these celebrities is handled, especially I mean, it's just been like the people that own property or whatever they have, they losing money with some of this stuff. My man T.I. came out and said some things, and it just seems like the people always looking for the celebrity's voice and look up to these people at times like this, and they always get let down. So what's your vibes and what's your opinion on that whole situation?
I mean, I think we're looking at celebrities for answers when the ones that haven't been socially conscious at all. I think we built a system around celebrities that a lot of the reason that they get a voice is they don't use their voice. Their voice is for their own personal gain. So, and there's the people. I had Jeffrey Wright on the other day on an interview, and he's somebody who's probably one of the most incredible actors of our time, but he's always been socially conscious, and he's always had his point of view. And because he's so good at what he does, he's able to be able to be in the big films and all this other stuff. I think that there's people don't have the capacity, again, especially musicians, because historically the powers that be don't want a musician to say anything. Billie Holiday wrote a record called Strange Fruit. The government went after her because she sang a song about a black man being lynched, and this was one of her biggest songs, but they wouldn't let her perform it. They they knew
hate the truth, bro.
Yeah,
Damn, they hate the truth. Shit hurts to hear.
Yeah, and so I think from then, when you had artists like Bob Marley and John Lennon coming from where they came from, or they weren't tied to the power elite, but they became powerful. They became known, and they had a voice, and they were talented, and they were in the right place. I think the FBI's of the world, they were scared of people like this, and so when they got the power, and let alone Tupac was followed probably since he was a kid.
Yeah,
So
he's part of the Black Panther Party.
His mom was part of the Black
Right.
Panther, and so when you have somebody like that with that much potential to actually move the masses, that it gets scary for people. I mean, we've seen it for as long as this has happened, as far as celebrity, that they want to sell. You can't write about this, you can't say about this. So it's like, right, what you see now is like, people following the energy of what's going on, and they haven't had a voice.
Don't you think now though that they can't police music no more because of streaming service? Nobody really cares about radio anymore. It's hard to police because I mean, all J. Cole music is protest music, pretty much, right?
Yeah, and I think Kendrick is there, but like.
So I said that to say, like, I think that excuse is gone for entertainers now. Like being able to use, I can't get these records off, I'm being policed, because the people decide what's hot now. Like they just put albums out, and whoever's streaming something decides what's hot now. Not radio, so you don't need radio play. You can put out, like Kendrick don't even make singles, and he sell, like he goes like Diamond. Go ahead.
Let's be honest. They did run into J. Cole's house. They did try to arrest him.
Right.
I think Kendrick is an anomaly because the mainstream needs at least one voice that can say something. And I think that I'm not saying that the kids can't do it. I'm just saying that they don't what like pushing the prescription drugs is more beneficial to like they advertise so much. So the main news, most of their clients is the pharmaceutical companies. So the pharmaceutical companies benefit when somebody's talking about, Percocet. So it's not, and these kids have been put on that since they were whatever in school. They were put on some kind of medication because they weren't listening in class. They were probably autistic. They were probably had a different way of learning. And they were, a lot of these kids were medicated before they were choosing to medicate themselves. So that, and combined with the fact that the artist speaks to what the country is going through most of the time. So their experience is that, they've been kind of policed themselves because they can't go outside and play like they did 20 years ago. And then when they finally have a chance to do something, it's like, it's not restricted. They can have some powerful substance to kind of alleviate or numb the pain. But I think for most part, when you look at the actual mainstream, I mean, it's not just in music, but in television and film, they're not pushing any kind of, there's not a lot of art out there. There's not another Tupac right now. It's like when Nipsey passed away, he became bigger than he was. And, you know, the first time he sold out the Staples Center was when at his funeral.
You don't think
So
his trajectory was going that way though?
I think his trajectory was going that way, but I think similar. Actually, I was just talking to Eric Parker, who's an amazing journalist who wrote with The Source, and he's doing documentary films, and he's kind of been around the music culture and has an amazing perspective, and he kind of brought up how Nipsey was how the young people and social media was able to kind of elevate Nipsey at that point, because they wanted to have their version of a Tupac, and or our version of a Bob Marley or John Lennon, and my version of a Tupac as well, and you have the ability at that point to with people sharing things to make things bigger than they were. And now that this is happening, this could actually turn into a real, you know, this has the potential to turn into a revolution.
Yeah, that's what's happening. I don't know if you're paying attention. That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. And we were talking about it earlier. They said it wouldn't be televised. It's not really.
They're trying not to.
Yeah, it's on the internet.
Well, I think also too, Gil was talking about the revolution of your mind and your heart. In that song, Gil Scott was also, what he was talking about was that as well, because people need to change their thinking. And the fact is what we're, you know, oh, well, was he resisting? Those kind of thoughts to me, like, now you don't really have a point of view to me, because I can't really talk to you reasonably about what's going on. We saw the man get killed, and the police officers are still not charged. And the fact is that this isn't about, like, I hope this doesn't end because the people will get charged. I think this is so much huger. We have a chance to leverage this into something that will actually change how police officers deal with the community, with the people. And the fact is that not just that, with the government and the judicial system, which is broken and which is definitely used as another form of slavery, which Ava DuVernay spoke about in the movie 13. So I think, you know, this is not just about that, you know, 3 people getting arrested, because people getting arrested isn't going to change this whole thing. It's going to be, it's going to have to come with actual change of police officers are not allowed to physically touch people that are doing misdemeanors. I don't care that Eric Garner was selling Lucy's on the freaking street. You know, it doesn't make sense if somebody is allegedly passing a fake $20 bill.
What? Like, that sounds so barbaric. Like, you kill a man. Like, that sounds ridiculous, bro.
Yeah. And if you resist, we know the history of resist. They can say anybody's resisting. Most police brutality.
Yeah, man, let go of my motherfucking hand, bro. It's fucking $20, nigga. Let me go. Let me go home. like all you have, give me a ticket. Give me a citation, dog.
Write a ticket and keep it moving. You know, you don't need to go. You don't need to go through all this stuff.
Everything escalates.
And the fact is, police officers' job isn't to deter, to kind of catch criminals. We've seen all these movies where these police are chasing the bad guy and catching somebody in the act. The fact is, somebody gets caught is usually getting ratted out. So it's like they already know that there's going to be a bank robbery, or they already know that there's a drug house, or they know that there's this or that. And so we've seen on cops, these people busting in people, you know, for years, and poor people's houses and taking them down and all this kind of stuff, and showing the drugs and the cash and the guns and all this kind of stuff. But the fact is, you know, if I get burglarized, we have to call the cops. They make out a report, and that's the last you ever heard of it.
Yeah, no cop should ever go down like when I call them. Like,
right.
You know, and they showed anytime I ever called them, they showed them. It was never nothing like that. You kind of look at me like, why'd you call me when they pull up?
Yeah, and then you know, the other day I'm moving my piano out, and my piano player, who's also helping me with my
Your
live stream
piano player.
company.
You just got a piano player just chilling?
Well, no, he's actually, but he's actually helping with the video and the company that I got doing this live stream concert thing, that business I started. But to make a long story, I'm moving the piano from, we get some friends, and somebody called the police, and they showed up right away. When I got burglarized, they didn't show up for
He has the dreads
forever.
out? He has the dreads out then?
No, I wasn't even there. It was my friends that were outside my house waiting for me to open the garage door. And then we're all moving the piano inside. So it's like, I posted something about it on this Nextdoor app, which is another awful app.
Oh, that's my
We
app.
got that shit, my name.
My girlfriend's always on that app.
They so racist on there, dog.
That shit is awful.
They be talking about shoot them and everything. I be like, oh my God.
They ain't know who live next door, right?
Yeah, they don't know like everybody's on there. I just be vibing, just watching it, dog. But every time somebody get a package stolen, they be like, if I ever catch that blow his head off. Like, okay.
And you have a situation. So I was like, hey man, just don't assume by profiling somebody that they have criminal intent. That's a hate crime. So don't. And most of the responses were like, well, you should be glad that your neighbors are looking out. I'm like, I've never lived in an area that is so like scared and paranoid in my life. And it's like, it's kind of like, this isn't, I've only lived here 3 years, but it's like with that type of thought process that we know there's huge differences in the way people think. They might be hiding the way they think. They might be whatever. They're not flying a Confederate flag, but they should be because of the way they think.
All right, Clarence, man, we appreciate you taking the time. I always like talking to you. Hopefully you're doing well out there, and keep checking in with me. I'll keep checking in with you.
Hey man,
if there's anything we can help you promote, let us know.
You gotta come back and do a whole morning show with us. That's what Bird gets you. Like we sit down and go through a whole show, bro.
Yeah, we do topics and everything.
We talk about all type of shenanigans.
And I want to also bring into the fact that because on the athlete side, the athletes have always been somebody that people that kind of represent how people themselves. I think athletes represent us because they're achieving something and doing something that we feel kind of like represents us in the sense that they're speaking for us on the field, because how much most athletes have gone through to get where they went, whether it's through discipline, through these social boundaries that they've had to break to achieve, from the Muhammad Ali's to Jesse Owenses, to the Jim Thorpes, to the to today, somebody that comes from an unprivileged area and is able to attain what we consider wealth, but not just wealth, but be able to kind of beat that structure. So I think a lot of the athletes nowadays, and especially the recruits, have to start asking the question is like, who am I signing with? Who are they voting for? What is that institution? What does that institution actually represent for my culture and for my community? And take a look at how people that have already gone through the system and are alumni, whether they be famous or not, have done in the private sector, and or they just kind of forgotten. And I think that people, they're gonna have to start thinking about is this guy voting, who's my head coach voting for? Where's the administration money going? What kind of policies are they doing for the community and the history of the school? So I think that's going to be one thing that I think young kids are going to start to actually think about in this process.
I absolutely agree with you. I think there's a lot of questions being raised. we'll see how it all plays out. The recruitment process is taking place right now during these times. So a lot of uncertainty, but Clarence, thank you for coming on. I'll talk to you soon. We'll be in touch. Get you back on.
I can't believe you guys are giving me a micro dose today. I thought I was gonna go in today.
Well, we had Ray McLeod on from Clemson. We had a Clemson player on, and then we also have Silk. What's her man's name that's coming on later? He's out of Brooklyn. He's a writer. Does some TED Talk stuff, but it's a jam-packed show today, man.
All right. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations on the success, and I love the growth and what you guys are doing out there. So keep it going.
Absolutely. Thank you, Clarence.
All right, y'all. Peace, fellas.
All right. See you later.
One love.
One love. All right.
Beautiful.